What do you mean you about to shoot up the whole Burger King because they forgot your pickles? Who are you supposed to be? The ATL bubble bass. Get me the hell out of this establishment.
Hello again. I do want to preface really quickly. If you hear rain, thunder, anything like that, my mother's TV is on, and I think she's taking a nap, and she sleeps with those sounds. So, and her room is right here. So if you hear that, I apologize, but also not. She's taking a nap. What do you want? All right. I want to talk about something, as always, in these Yapathon videos. I want to talk about Henry the Eighth. Is it Henry the Eighth? Is that um the Roman numeral? I don't know my Roman numerals. Sorry. I'm American and I'm dumb. What is Roman numeral for 8? I'm going to talk about Henry the Eighth. Roman numeral for 8. I was correct, right? Get out of that. I was correct. It is 8. So, because I know the V is 5 and the eyes, the ones are 1. So 5, 6, 7, 8. Anyways, Henry the Eighth, and I want to talk about Henry the Eighth because he had 6 wives and 2 of them he murdered. so so I'm gonna talk about that, okay? And then we'll talk about whatever else that we had to talk about. So, King Henry, and of course, as always, we have notes. I have lots of notes on King Henry VIII, simply because sometimes I get tired of looking at the screen, and so I'd rather look down and then back up than to look at the screen because it hurts my eyes so much. So, man, boy, I'm recording. Stop it. So, King Henry VIII, he had control over England from 1509 to 1540. Sorry, I'm trying to put my iPad somewhere. 1509 to 1547, and no one really knows him other than the dude that had 6 wives. So, in the wives, I'm going to list them. Catherine of Aragon. Aragon? We're going to say Aragon. Catherine of Aragon from 1485 to 1536. And Boleyn. Anne Boleyn, which is, she's such an icon. She's so important in the grand scheme of things, and her daughter is very important as well. So, Anne, the first Anne, because there's 3 different Catherines, there's 2 different Annes, and then there's a Jane. So it's confusing. Anne B is what we're gonna call her. Anne B, Jane Seymour, Anne of Cleves. We'll just call her Anne of Cleves. Catherine Howard, and Catherine Parr. Stop it. So, he had 6 wives. 2 of them he killed. A good deal of them, I think one of them, I think it was Catherine Howard, either Catherine Howard or Anne of Cleves. Either one of the, I think it was Anne of Cleves. She actually was his wife for 6 months, and he called her a horse. But we'll get to that. So, here's a quote. English historian and House of Tudor expert David Starkey describes Henry VIII as a husband. And this is the quote. What is extraordinary is that in the beginning of Henry's marriages, he was usually a very good husband. He was very tender to them. Research shows that he addressed some of them as sweetheart. He was a good lover. He was very generous. The wives were given huge settlements of land and jewels. He was immensely considerate when they were pregnant. However, if his current wife did not please him or did anything to fire his short temper, there would be consequences. 2 of Henry's wives were beheaded by his command. Also, if you couldn't give him a son, through just searching on Google and Wikipedia, for the most part, if you could not give him a son, he gave 2 shits about you. Literally. All he wanted, yes, he wanted a wife and whatever, but he really wanted sons, okay? He really wanted sons to take on his dynasty, the Tudor dynasty. Anyways, the way that you can remember the order in which his wives were married to him or the order of the wives, the way that you can remember is by last name. So arrogant boy seemed clever. Howard particularly by last name. So you can figure that out. And then there's a rhyme that is divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived. Is how I think that's how I found out about them, because I was watching an interview of Anya Taylor-Joy, and she was talking about her obsession with King Henry and his 6 wives. So, divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived. And that is how it goes. So, first off, we get into Catherine. I'm sorry if this is boring because I'm literally just reading the notes that I took and then like giving my insight. If this is boring to you, I'm so sorry, but kind of don't care. Because if you don't want to watch it, you don't have to. I'm not forcing you to watch it. I would like for you to watch it, but you don't have to. So, Catherine of Aragon, Anne B, and Jane Seymour each gave Henry one child who survived infancy. They survived childhood, because a lot of these cases as well, there were times where they would give birth, or they would give birth and the child would die a few months later or a few weeks later, or they would give birth to stillborns. And yeah, only 3 children, legitimate children. There's also one illegitimate son. I think his last name is Fitzroy. It's like Henry Fitzroy or James Fitzroy or something. I'm sure I'll find it in these notes. But he has one illegitimate son, but the illegitimate son could not take the throne, I don't think, so he had to have a boy. So yeah. They had 2 daughters and 1 son. So Catherine had a daughter. Catherine A of Aragon, she had a daughter. Anne B had a daughter, and Jane had a son, respectively. They had them in that order. All 3 of them actually took the throne. So it at some point, but it went from son, even though he was the youngest, it went from son to oldest daughter to youngest daughter. So it was Edward, Mary, Elizabeth. So Anne B and Catherine, what's interesting is that a lot of his wives were actually handmaids, or not handmaids, what's the lady in waiting is the term for it. A lot of his wives were ladies in waiting for the previous wife. So Anne B and Catherine, no. Yes, so several of Henry's wives worked in service to another wife, typically as a lady in waiting. If you don't know what a lady in waiting is basically like it's kind of like a maid. It is a female personal assistant who lives in the court with you and does all the things with you. And a lady in waiting was often a noblewoman, but of lower rank than the woman to whom she attended. So here's the queen, or like the wife of the king, queen, whatever, and then you are the lady in waiting. You have a higher rank than most ladies, but you are still underneath the queen, obviously. So, with that being said, Anne served Catherine, right? And then Jane served both Anne and Catherine before. this man was trifling. Anyways, and then Catherine Howard also served. And okay, so Anne B served Catherine of Aragon. Jane served both Anne and Catherine of Aragon. And Catherine Howard also served her predecessor, who was Anne of Cleves, right? So Anne B and Catherine were both beheaded due to like accusations of infidelity. Like, really, we're women, women of time. I think Anne she had a stillborn boy, and she was getting, the stories get mixed up. Obviously, I have the notes here, but they were accused of infidelity by someone, just like because they were trying to get rid of Anne B so that he could move on to another woman who would hopefully give him a son. And so, but what's interesting is all of them were basically fucking related. I'm telling you, Anne B and Catherine of Aragon, were cousins. And then I think Jane Seymour was related to Anne B in some type of way. I think she was like her third cousin or something like that. All of them are related, and it's so weird. It was Jane. Yes, okay, so Jane was actually the second cousin to both Anne and Catherine. How does this family tree look, bro? How does it look? I don't know. Anyways, Catherine of Aragon. Now we actually get into like the meat and potatoes of like what happened with them and like their personal stories. So Catherine of Aragon, or Catalina de Aragon. Catalina de Aragon. I don't know why they put a Spanish translation there. Was she was she a Spaniard? I don't know. Catherine of Aragon was his first wife, and she was actually married to his older brother first, but she was married to his older brother first, but he died of like the flu or something. I think they called it a sweating fever. So he died, and Henry was like, "Oh, I kind of like you, bro. Like, will you give me a son, bro?" So then they got married, but it was hell trying to get married because he was trying to get permission to marry his brother's wife, basically. And he was a part of the Roman church, I do believe, like the Catholicism and all of that stuff. So, and there was like this big break from the Roman church and the English Reformation. Girl, so much. It's tea. But anyways, she was actually married to Henry's older brother first before he died. And then a little after 1509, she gave birth to a stillborn girl. In 1511, she gave birth to Henry, Duke of Cornwall. I don't know what these names are, but she gave birth to a son, but he died 2 months later. And in 1513, she had a stillborn boy. That's going to be very difficult to say. Stillborn boy. And then another boy who died within hours in 1515. So she was having no luck. Back to back to back. She was having stillborns, or they would die either hours or months after they were born. So finally, at the age of 30, she actually gave birth to a baby, but it was a girl, and that was in 1516. And obviously, like I said before, Henry's not really too fond on girls. Henry's like, you know what? I need a son. You're not giving me a son. What's going on? So after giving birth to, and she named her daughter Mary. After giving birth to Mary, Catherine is quoted to say, "We are both young. If it was a daughter this time, by the grace of God, the sons will follow." Unfortunately, she never had a son. She never had a son. Okay? She conceived again two years later, but it was a girl, and that girl passed away after birth a few hours later. So it's said that Henry really loved Catherine, but his main concern was not having a legitimate son to take over his dynasty. And during this time, he had several mistresses. Obviously, men are trash. Doesn't matter if they're king or not; they're trash. So he had several mistresses during his marriage, which included Elizabeth Blunt, who actually gave Henry a son. However, he was illegitimate. It was a baby born out of wedlock. So he couldn't take the throne, so he still needed a son, right? He also had an affair with Mary Boleyn, who is Anne's older sister. He also was sleeping around with Anne's older sister, Mary, And eventually he actually turned his attention to Anne, but she was like, I'm not. And he tried to like send her love letters. He was writing her all this sweet shit. She was like, I'm not a mistress, boy. You gonna have to leave your wife and get married to me, or I'm not coming over there. Like, I'm not a mistress. So, um, but she was a lady in waiting for Catherine at the time. And he became infatuated with her, which is crazy to think, because you became infatuated with her only to cut her head off. That's crazy. Anyways, in the late 1520s, Catherine was rounding 40. She was pushing, I think she was actually older than 40, maybe like 40. It just says late 40s, so I can assume like 40, 45 to 49. And it was clear that she wasn't going to give him any more children, which is his main concern, as we have said many times. And so he made plans to marry Anne, which ended up happening. And then shortly after marrying Anne, Catherine got sent away, and she didn't get to see Henry or her daughter again. And she died at the age of 50, which sucks. And apparently, William Shakespeare refers to Catherine as the Queen of Earthly Queens in his play Henry VIII. So that's cute. So we're moving on to the second wife, who is Anne B. Anne Boleyn. So she is his second wife and the mother of Elizabeth I. And Henry's marriage to her was the marriage to her, and also her execution, were big parts of like a revolutionary part of like English history. And I think it's called the English Reformation. Yes, it's the English Reformation. And it's just, she's described to have dark hair, beautiful features, lively manners, and like I said earlier, she did not want to be a mistress, and she actually resisted his attempts at seducing her. He was seducing the fuck out of her with these love letters, bro. He was throwing down with the with the pen, with the quill, okay? He was throwing down. But she was like, "No, you're not. No. Like, divorce your wife and then I'll be your wife." So he went through he went through with an annulment or a divorce from his wife Catherine, so that he could marry Anne. And the Pope was not having it. The Pope was like, "No, this is not, like, I'm not doing it. You're gonna have to find somebody else to do it. I'm not doing it." And he, I don't know how to explain it, broke the power of the Catholic Church, which he was a part of, but I don't really know the details of that. I don't really know how that went down. And this was the beginning of the English Reformation, basically. Anne's execution was also a high part of that, but this was the beginning of like, okay, shit is changing. He's breaking rules to marry this girl, which is crazy. Breaking rules, set tradition and boundaries to marry Anne, only to behead her because you think she's sleeping with somebody, and she wasn't. Like, she wasn't. You just took somebody else's word, and because you wanted somebody else. Like, come on now. Anyways, this sparked the English Reformation, and the English Reformation took place in the 16th century of England, when the Church of England was forced by its monarchs, or by the king, to break away from the authority of the Pope and the Catholic Church. So they were separating this power dynamic between royalty and the Pope. And they was like, okay, one gotta give. So November 14th, 1532, Henry and Anne had a secret wedding. Okay, so they were like, okay, we're having a secret wedding service. January 25th, 1533, so the year after, they had an official wedding service in London after Anne became pregnant. So he was like, I'm not having another excuse me, I'm not having another illegitimate baby. We got to get married and we got to do it fast because you're pregnant already. And then May 23rd, 1533, um, Henry and Catherine's marriage became null and void, and then his and Anne's marriage was good to go. Basically, it was valid. So once the Pope found out, he gave a sentence of excommunication against the king and his archbishop. Don't know what that is, what that's about, but from what we can tell, the Pope was like, "Oh, so y'all playing dirty? Okay, okay, I got you, I got you. Let me go ahead and throw this sentence at you." So that's what he did, but doesn't matter. Anne was crowned queen consort of England in June 1st, and then she gave birth to Henry's second daughter, Elizabeth, on September 7th. Again, he don't want girls. He want a boy so that the boy can take the throne, even though the girls end up taking the throne too. But he wanted a boy. So in 1536, Anne was having several miscarriages and she failed to give him a son. And he grew tired of waiting. And he was like, I'm not getting any younger. I could die any second. We don't brush our teeth, okay? And we're sleeping with kinfolk. I could die literally right now. I could get the flu and like kill over and die. Like, I need a son immediately. So he was like, I'm not gonna wait no more. And he started getting mistresses again, which sucks. And one of Anne's former allies, I don't even know who that is, but they didn't like her anymore and they were like, you have to go. So, without any real evidence, none at all, basically, they accused Anne of sleeping with her brother, George, and another man. Accused her of sleeping with her brother and some other random dude. And they was like, oh no, you gotta go. Incest, we do a little bit. But you gotta go. Okay? So, and that's crazy because she was accused of adultery, incest, and high treason. And then she was executed 2 days after 2 days after their marriage was annulled. Like 2 days after they got divorced, basically. So, but it's just like she was accused of incest and that was one of the reasons why you were gonna kill her. But that's like, y'all family tree already mixed up. I don't anyways, after her daughter got the throne, her daughter was like, my mom didn't do that. She's not an evil person. And she actually venerated her as a martyr and a heroine of the heroine, not heroin, not the drug, heroine. I don't know how to pronounce the word. But she basically gave her mother a better name for herself because everybody was probably calling her a whore and a nasty person for sleeping with her brother, even though, like, your ex-wife was my cousin, so like, what are you talking about? Anyways, Jane is the third wife and quite possibly the only wife that probably was treated the best. Like, she has such a nice a quick little run through of her time as the queen. And yeah, and she gave him a son, which he liked. So she was a third wife. Jane Seymour was a third wife. She served Catherine as a maid of honor, and then Anne as a lady in waiting. So she actually like knew the drill and stuff already. So she was of lower birth than most of Henry's wives, so she couldn't really read. Lower birth meaning she had like a disability. Basically, she was born either, I think she was born too soon, and so she had a disability and she couldn't really read or write all that well. But she did know how to do things like needlework and being handy around the house, which was more useful for women back then than to be able to read and write, because they didn't really care. They were like, "Can you cook though?" But like, "Can you sew this button on my shirt, bro?" But like, "Can you clean the house, bro? We don't really care that you can read. Can you clean, bro?" So that is what was more important for him at the time. In January of 1536, Henry took an interest in Jane, who was the complete opposite of Queen Anne. I think Queen Anne was more, she was more outspoken, lively. She was respectable, but she was notably more out there and outspoken. And then Jane is this like soft little demure little house mouse, basically. So Jane married Henry on May 30th of 1536 in London, 11 days after Anne was executed. That's crazy. That man executed somebody, beheaded them, and you're like, yes, let's get married and have a son. What? Anyways, Jane was known for being peaceful, and she actually managed to rekindle a relationship between Henry and his other two daughters, Mary and Elizabeth. She was able to, fix that relationship between them. A year and a half into the marriage, Jane gave birth to the sixth. I think his title is Edward the Sixth. She gave birth to Edward, but she died 12 days later from childbirth complications. So she didn't really live long enough to see her son grow up, which kind of sucks. But she was the only wife to receive a royal burial, because she actually gave him what he wanted, and she died 12 days later. So when Henry died, he's not dead yet, but when he died, he chose to be buried next to Jane. And no one really knows if it was a political reason, like oh, we're still in power type thing, or if he just like truly loved her. No one really knows, but that is where he lays at the end of all this. So Anne of Cleves was Henry's fourth wife, and she was the Queen of Consort of England, but she was not crowned. She kind of held the title. And they were only together for 6 months in 1540, from January 6th to July 9th, which July 9th is my birthday. Anyways, I turned 21, guys. I turned 21, bro. Anyways, she was a German princess, and this is the wife that I was talking about, where he called her a horse. They were together for 6 months, and he called her a horse. He was an asshole, okay? And there's this whole story, but I'm going to sum it up really, really quickly, because I'm reaching 30 minutes, and I don't want to talk about this for an hour straight. So I'll make a more detailed video, probably, because this is a hyperfixation. But to sum up the story very, very quickly, he took interest in her because of a painting that he saw from someone else. But the dude couldn't see their faces as he was painting, so they wore veils over their faces, so he just had to make up what the faces looked like, because the brother was like, "You're not looking at their face." I don't know why, but that's what happened. So he saw the portrait, and he was like, "Oh, like, give her to me now." So she was sent to him, and he was like, "You don't look like what your picture looks. You catfish me, bro. You catfish me, bro." Basically is what he was saying. And he called her a Flanders mare. If you don't know what a Flanders mare is, because I didn't know what that meant. I felt like I knew what it kind of meant, because mare is horse. So the term Flanders mare has two meanings. It can refer to a mare of a Flemish breed, typically strong and large, often used to pull coaches, right? A horse. Or it can be a depreciative term for a tall and strongly built woman, usually implying unattractiveness. That is why I say Henry VIII is an asshole, because he saw her in real life, and she probably was taller than him. He probably was 5'2", because men back then just were fucking short. I don't know. He was probably 5'2", and she was probably 5'7", and he was like, "You're ugly. Yeah, you are a Flanders mare. You actually look like a Flanders mare. And that is so mean. But if you have somebody that you don't like and they built kind of big, they built kind of boxy at the top, you know, then you can call them a Flanders mare. Don't actually. But that is basically the whole thing of it. She was she was the only one to outlive the king and all of his wives, by the way. They divorced. They didn't stay together. So, yeah. That's what happened. But I just wanted to sum that up because it's a whole thing of like, what happened? Why did he call her Flanders mare? Yada, yada, yada. It's like very simple. He got catfish basically, but like not on purpose. She didn't do it. Like, she didn't paint the picture. Anyways, moving on to the fifth wife, who is Catherine Howard. She was Anne B's cousin, second cousin to Jane, and the niece of Thomas Howard. Her uncle was some sort of politician within the court that Henry was the king of, and he was able to secure her a spot in the court. Somehow he was able to be like, hey, here you looking for a new wife, bro. Got one over there, bro, if you want it. If you want it, you know. But he got her a spot in, and they got married in 1540. July 28th, 1540, I think they got married. But November 1st of 1541, so literally a year later, not even a year later, Henry was told by somebody that Catherine was allegedly sleeping with people. Allegedly. These women probably were not sleeping with nobody. They probably got on the wrong side of somebody and and they was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go tell him that you're sleeping with somebody, bro. You're a whore. So she was allegedly sleeping with her distant cousin Thomas, her private music lessons teacher Henry, and her secretary Frances. Girl. Anyways, Catherine was stripped of her title as queen in November of 1541 and was beheaded in February 1542 on grounds of treason and adultery. Moving on to the sixth wife, the sixth and last wife. This is the last one. She, Catherine Parr, is actually Henry's third cousin. Third cousin. Once removed, but third cousin. What's up? What are you talking about? Anyways, she was the one to be like, I want this court, this household to represent family, strength through the years and the ages and everything to come. So her most significant achievement was her role in getting the Third Succession Act passed, which confirmed that both Mary and Elizabeth could take their place in succession for the throne after Edward. And because they both had been made illegitimate because of the annulments, but it doesn't make any sense how they were made illegitimate. Well, I guess not, because he wasn't divorced from Jane, but he was divorced from Catherine A and Anne. So I guess that makes sense. Because I was going to say, did he divorce his dead wife? No, obviously not. But the divorces made Mary the First and Elizabeth the First illegitimate in some kind of way. So Catherine Parr was like, we're going to fix that. And so she passed the Third Succession Act, or she was a very forward figure in that act to get it passed, and it made them legitimate again so that they could take the throne. At this time, Catherine was 31, Mary was 27, Elizabeth was 10, and Henry was 52. Henry trusted Catherine so much that one time, I guess when he went to, because there was a war going on in France or something like that. And so when he went, he was like, you are the one in charge. Instead of putting someone else, a man, in charge, he was like, I trust you. You're my wife. You're in charge. And if I am to die before I get back, you will be the successor to the throne until Edward turns whatever age for the throne. But that never ended up happening, because another Edward, not our little Edward, but another Edward ended up taking the position, because he was appointed by the Regency Council. And Catherine also had a special place in the history of married women because she actually had four husbands before she died. So, who were her husbands? She was widowed twice before she married Henry, and then after Henry died, she married Thomas Seymour, who was the uncle of Prince by Seymour, Prince Edward, right? So she married Jane Seymour's brother, yes, and had one child by Seymour, who was Mary Seymour, but Catherine died after childbirth at like 35 or 36, and then Thomas was executed for treason. Don't know how that happened. I guess sleeping with the king's wife, but he's dead, bro. Chill out. And then Lady Mary, the baby, no one really knows what happened to her, but they can suspect that she just didn't make it through childhood, which is, it seems like a common thing going on. Anyways, that was a very brief history of them. I know it took me 30 minutes to get through it because I talk very slow and because I'm tired. Okay, I've been up since like 5 in the morning. Okay, I'm tired, and I'm hungry. But that was a very brief history. I'm probably going to do another video, but like more concise, where I give out a lot more information because it is now a hyperfixation of mine and I like it. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about really quickly is that I will be making a video probably about 20 or 30 minutes, and it will actually be like an actual nice video, like edited and everything. It's not going to be a yapathon video. It's going to be an actual video. And I'm going to talk about the cost of popularity, the cost of fame. I'm probably not going to title it that. I don't really know. If I do title it that, then it will be like a series where I talk about different people. The first person that I'm going to talk about mainly is Fanita, because there's just a lot of controversy and a lot of drama surrounding her, and I found it interesting for a while now. Back when the Tarte trip happened, I found it interesting, and I was like, I'm gonna make a video on that, but just not yet, because every time you turn around, there's a new video on my For You page telling me something about Fanita. Blah, blah, blah. Every time I open the app, Fanita. And I don't open the app much. Every time I open it, Fanita. And so I was like, fine, I'll talk about Fanita. But I kind of just wanted to do like a little sneak peek into what the video is going to be about, if you're interested. So I have started taking notes, obviously, because I am a notesy person. So my main thing for this video is just going over the controversy while also applying the things that I learned in my current classes to whatever it is that's going on. So like kind of how Mika does her channel based on rhetoric and like comparing controversy and drama to rhetoric and rhetorical things. In this instance, I'm gonna compare it to The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell, and it'll make sense in the video maybe, but I figured it will be a lot less like mundane and kind of boring to just sit here and be like, yes, Fanita is a terrible person and she is a mean girl and she does all this stuff and she says all this stuff and blah blah blah. I feel like it would be more fun if I was like, let's use a literary device to compare and contrast with Fanita and her actions. I feel like that would be a lot better and it would run a lot smoother. So but the main thing is, what is the cost of popularity? Not even just talking or focusing on Fanita. I'm going to use her as an example because she's going to be in the video. But what is the cost of popularity? Are celebrities human or are they entertainment? Capitalist human entertainment. And some of the costs that you could list are privacy, respect, human rights, self-esteem, mental health. Those are typically the the cost of being famous or being a well-known person in the in the internet sphere. For Fanita's instance, I separated into two sections. So the five W's, which I'm probably just going to use two or three of those, but I probably will always separate it into the five W's and a literary device, which in this case will be the hero's journey. So the five W's: who, what, when, where, why. Who is Fanita? What is kind of what we're going to be talking about in the specific video, and it's going to be fame and weight loss, because a big thing with Fanita is weight loss. I am not going to be making that video to shit on Fanita in any way. There are some things that she does that are very, very strange, and some things she does that some things that she says makes sense, and it's a valid point, but she says it so wrong. Like, she says it so wrong. And it's like, sometimes you don't need to speak. Sometimes you can just close your mouth. Like that. Go, your mouth is open, and then you go, close your mouth. Sometimes that's what you have to do. But Fanita doesn't get that. And I understand, because her job is to talk. Her job is to entertain. Her job is to make videos. But some things don't need to be said. Alas, what I kind of want to explain is what literary device I'm going to be using. I'll explain more in the video. But the hero's journey is, I'll just read my notes, because obviously I'm in a class, in mythology class, and we learned about the hero's journey, and I was like, I could apply this, or try to apply it, or apply some of it to Fanita in her controversy so far. So, and then we'll repeat, and we'll come back and we'll revisit every time something else happens. So, because I think that'd be cool. So, writer Joseph Campbell observed that most mythological hero stories more or less follow a single pattern, which we now refer to as the hero's journey. There are lots of individual steps within the journey, and Campbell can list between 15 or 20 distinct steps, but all these steps can be summarized generally into three phases: separation from the world, penetration to some source of power, and life-enhancing return. So in this case, there's more that breaks down that I'll go over in a second, but in this case, the separation from the world for Fanita would be there's so many parts within separation from the world. So there's getting her TikTok fame, making money, and then using that money to get rid of her weight. Those are her separations from the world, right? Or you could take it as separation from the world being she gained TikTok popularity. Okay, so let's use it that way. Her separation from the world, she gained TikTok popularity, right? Penetration to some source of power, she lost weight. Penetration to some source of power, she gained a lot of money, and she was able to have a gastric sleeve surgery or bypass or whatever. She was able to have a surgery done to where they cut her stomach and make it smaller so that she doesn't, hold as much food or eat as much. And she was able to work out, and she was able to get cosmetic surgery on her titties, on her ass, whatever, right? That is her penetration to some source of power. And then life enhancing return, we're not there yet, because in some people's eyes, she does not have a redemption arc. She has not had it yet. So in this journey, Campbell also says that the actions and lessons found in the oldest tales are ignited by and revolve around the loss of precious thing. And then come the efforts, detours, and inspirations that suddenly appear whilst in pursuit of the recovery of the greatest treasure. So this is, like I said, a literary device, but I'm trying to be silly, funny, whatever, and compare it to something very hard to talk about in some cases, but we'll get there. So, like I said earlier, there are many steps in the hero's journey, 15 to 20, but my professor broke it down into 7 steps. So, the ordinary world, the call to adventure, crossing the threshold, the mentor, challenges, temptation, final conflict, and the return home. So there are 7 steps. So the ordinary world is where the story starts. The call to action, or the call to adventure, is the hero's everyday life is disrupted, and there is a call to adventure. So, like, the call to adventure in Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man, would be Peter is he's going through all these things, and then he's bit by a spider. He's bit by a spider. He is experiencing all these things, and then his uncle dies. Right? If you haven't seen the movie, go watch it. It's been out for so long. But that would be that. So crossing the threshold is the hero's journey out into the unknown. In this case, Fanita's case, crossing the threshold would be some of the things that she says, crossing the threshold, some of the things that she says, and also losing that weight in saying those things that she says, right? The mentor is self-explanatory. Challenges and temptations, hardships, self-explanatory. Final conflict is self-explanatory. This is the final test right before you are to return home. And then the return home is the return home, self-explanatory. So I am scripting this video, and I should be done scripting it by, I want to say, today is Thursday. I should be done scripting it by Friday, Saturday. And that way I can record it Sunday and then have it out the following week. This video is hopefully you enjoy it. It's taking a lot of time because I'm having to go back through all the controversy in all the videos and get everything that I need to make this video. And I think it's gonna be fun, but I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up as to what the next video is going to be. I'm gonna be talking about Fanita probably, so I wanted to get these videos out so that you can have something if you want to watch it. I'm really just having fun posting and watching it myself. But if you want to watch it, there's something out while I work on this longer video. But in the video, I will be going over the controversy from Fanita and then also applying the hero's journey to all of her controversy to kind of correlate it and make it seem a little less drama-y. Maybe make it a little fun. I don't really know. But that's what I'm going to do. And I'll do multiple people. I might do Nara Smith. I don't necessarily like Nara Smith's content, but like, why do people hate Nara Smith? I've yet to find anything like controversial other than somebody accusing her of stealing her content. But it's like, did she really steal it? Anyways, I think I'm done yapping. I forgot to list, I think the last couple of episodes I forgot to talk about a song. The last episode I think I forgot to talk about a song that I really like. Alibi. If you know it, you know it. You probably heard it on TikTok. Alibi. Go listen to it immediately. That is a beautiful song and I love it so very much, and I've had it on repeat for like 3 days now. Go cop. Do you know how YouTubers be? Go cop the merch, bro. Go cop the merch. No. Anyways, go listen to Alibi. Thank you for listening. I don't really have anything else to talk about. Oh, let me clarify some things for these videos as well. I haven't really said that this is a podcast or not. I call them yapathon videos simply because I'm yapping for an hour long. I am not necessarily doing these videos for anyone's approval or anything like that. I'm doing these videos because they are fun, and these are videos I'm able to clear my mind. I have a lot going on in my head, and sometimes I just want to speak without being interrupted by people, so I record. This is what this is for. If you don't like it, if you're not cool with it, if you're like, I'm not watching an hour long, that's fine. You don't have to watch it. This is really for me to like brain dump. Everything that's up here, brain dump. And Henry VIII and his 6 wives have been in my head for like a week now. Okay? But I had to babysit, so I couldn't really record. It wasn't a good time. So, okay? Brain dump. I'm not doing this for anything else. I'm not expecting anything. I don't really ask people to like and subscribe. If you want to, you can. But I'm not pushing it, like putting it in the videos and all this stuff. I don't care. These are videos of me having fun talking and getting my brain clear. And I will make shorter videos. Like I said, there's a makeup tutorial probably coming out before this, or not before, but probably after this video. I just want that to be known. Anyways, go listen to Alibi. I love you. Go eat. You probably haven't eaten. Go eat something, boop. And I will see you in the next video. Bye, boop.